Do you know why your life is stuck in neutral? Because you're busy running after people who don't even care if you exist. Let that sink in. You are wasting your fire, your time, and your destiny chasing validation from others instead of building yourself into the force you were meant to be. You think fulfillment comes from impressing someone else. No, fulfillment comes when you dominate your own world. Every second you waste chasing, you are handing over your power, your confidence, your future. You were not born to crawl behind anyone. You were born to rise, to build, to conquer. So today, I'm not here to whisper. I'm here to hammer this into your soul. Focus. O-I-U-R-C-L. Still P-H-E-I-S-N. Whoa-my. You think chasing makes you desirable, but it doesn't. It makes you weak, exposed, and stripped of every ounce of power you thought you had. When you chase, you are declaring to the world that you are not in control, that you are a man desperate for validation, and desperation is poison. Desperation does not attract, it repels. It suffocates your presence and destroys the respect that should naturally surround you. You need to understand something. No one respects the man who abandons his own mission to orbit around someone else's attention. No one admires the man who lowers his standards, his discipline, his pride, just to win approval. The brutal truth is this: chasing is weakness disguised as effort. It is the pathetic illusion that if you just try harder, just give more, just beg louder, you will be chosen. But what does it really show? It shows you have no mission. It shows you are lost. It shows you are so empty inside that you're willing to pour every ounce of your energy into someone else's validation while your own life rots away. And when people see that in you, they don't admire you. They don't value you. They see you as disposable, replaceable, and forgettable. Respect is not earned by chasing. Respect is earned when you can walk into a room and not need anything from anyone. Respect is earned when you build yourself into someone who doesn't beg for attention, but commands it by presence alone. When you chase, you're broadcasting weakness, and weakness will always be punished. You might think you're showing persistence. You might think you're proving loyalty, but from the outside, what people actually see is a man with no direction, no focus, no power. And when you project that image, don't be surprised when they pull away. Don't be surprised when they laugh behind your back. Don't be surprised when you are left with nothing. Think about this. When has chasing ever truly worked? How many times have you bent over backwards, given everything, sacrificed your dignity, only to end up ignored, disrespected, or rejected? You told yourself it was effort. You told yourself you just had to keep going. But the truth is, the more you chased, the less you were valued. Because when you put yourself in the position of the chaser, you place the other person on a pedestal above you and you diminish your own worth. The moment you pedestalize, you lose. The moment you beg, you surrender your power. And once you give it away, don't expect anyone to hand it back to you. The world does not reward the chaser. The world rewards the man who refuses to lower himself. The man who doesn't compromise his identity just to be accepted. Respect flows toward power, and power is not found in desperation. It's found in discipline, in self-respect, in the relentless pursuit of your own goals. A man without a mission is a man easily distracted, and a man easily distracted will always find himself crawling behind someone else's footsteps instead of carving his own path. Every second you chase, you're burning time you could have invested in yourself. Time that could have gone into your craft, your mind, your health, your empire. But instead, you're bleeding it out chasing attention that slips through your hands like sand. And when you wake up years later, when you look around and realize you've built nothing, you'll understand the price of chasing. You'll understand that while you were busy running in circles after temporary validation, your dreams were suffocating, your potential was dying, and your legacy was evaporating into thin air. Chasing makes you invisible. Yes, invisible. Because the world doesn't see men who beg, it looks past them. Nobody pays attention to the desperate, but everyone pays attention to the man who stands tall, who says, I don't need you, I am enough. That is the kind of presence that turns heads. That is the kind of power that demands attention without ever having to beg for it. But that power can only be forged when you stop chasing. And let's get brutally real. When you chase, you don't just lose time, you lose yourself. You stop thinking about your own goals, your own growth, your own vision. You start molding yourself into whatever you think the other person wants. You become a puppet controlled by their reactions, by their moods, by their approval. And slowly, piece by piece, you give away your identity until one day you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You're just a shadow of who you could have been, built around someone else's validation. That is not living. That is not power. That is slavery. And the chains are forged by your own desperation. If you want to break free, if you want to rise, you must understand this. Chasing never leads to respect. It never leads to fulfillment. It never leads to the life you want. It only leads to emptiness, disappointment, and regret. The only way out is to cut the cord, to stop running in circles, and to lock in on the only person who can truly change your life. You, that's the raw truth. That's the reality no one wants to tell you. But if you keep chasing, you will keep losing. And if you stop, if you shift your energy inward, if you build yourself first, you will never have to chase again, because respect, opportunity, and love will chase you. Every hour you spend chasing someone who doesn't care, you are draining the fuel that could have been used to build yourself into someone unstoppable. That's the tragedy. You have fire, but you keep throwing it into a pit that gives nothing back. You could be sharper, stronger, wealthier, smarter, but instead, you're on your knees begging for attention. Do you realize how much you're sacrificing for nothing? That's the kind of waste that destroys empires before they're even built. Energy is the most valuable currency you have. Once it's gone, it's gone. And every drop of energy you pour into desperate pursuits is energy stolen from your growth. Think about it. Instead of hitting the gym, you're hitting up their phone. Instead of studying a new skill, you're studying their social media. Instead of building wealth, you're building excuses for why they're ignoring you. That's not investment, that's self-destruction. You need to flip the script. Stop throwing energy at people who don't value it. Start throwing it at yourself, your goals, your craft, because when you invest in yourself, every ounce of energy multiplies. You put an hour into your health, your body grows stronger. You put an hour into your business, your bank account grows heavier. You put an hour into your discipline, your mindset grows unshakable. That is the power of self-investment. It compounds, it stacks, it builds into something unstoppable. But when you chase, you get nothing, no growth, no return, no legacy, just exhaustion. Stop and ask yourself, what do you gain from chasing? A short reply, a little attention, maybe a temporary ego boost. That's crumbs. And you're giving away your entire loaf of potential for scraps that mean nothing in the long run. But when you invest in yourself, you don't get crumbs. You bake the entire damn loaf, and the world lines up to take notice. Here's the irony. When you stop chasing, that's when attraction begins. When you stop begging, that's when respect grows. Why? Because confidence isn't in your words, it's in your actions. When you're locked in on your grind, when you're building something real, you radiate power without even trying, and power draws attention naturally. It's magnetic, but the second you chase, you kill the magnet, you drain the current, you become powerless. People respect the man who builds. People notice the man who invests in himself. They look up to the man who has direction, who refuses to waste his time on things beneath his mission. That's who gets remembered. That's who gets chosen, not the chaser. Never the chaser. Think about the people you admire. Do they waste their lives begging? Do they burn their energy chasing? No. They pour their energy into themselves, into their vision, into their empire. And because of that, they draw respect, admiration, loyalty without ever having to beg for it. They become the prize, not the pursuer. And here's the cold truth. You could be that man. You could have the discipline, the focus, the presence that makes the world pay attention. But not if you keep chasing. Every text you send, every hour you waste, every sleepless night you burn on someone else is a brick you could have laid in your empire. Instead, you're handing your bricks away one by one until you've got nothing left to build with. You need to be ruthless with your energy. Guard it, protect it, invest it like it's gold, because it is. And ask yourself, does this action grow me or does it drain me? If it grows you, double down. If it drains you, cut it off without hesitation. That's the discipline of self-investment. And don't mistake this for selfishness. It's survival. It's strategy. Because when you build yourself first, you become someone who can give more, lead more, and inspire more. When you chase, you give nothing but desperation. When you invest, you give power. This is why focusing on yourself is not optional, it's essential. If you want respect, you must invest in yourself. If you want success, you must invest in yourself. If you want a life that matters, you must invest in yourself, because no one is coming to hand it to you. No one is going to save you. And the world has no sympathy for men who waste their energy on chasing instead of building. The clock is ticking. Every day you keep chasing, you're losing ground. Every day you keep chasing, someone else is investing, building, rising. And one day you'll see the gap so wide you'll wish you had started sooner. Don't let that be your story. Don't let chasing be the reason you never built the life you were meant to live. Focus, invest, build, pour your energy into something that multiplies instead of drains. Because if you don't, you'll wake up with nothing but regrets. But if you do, you'll wake up one day surrounded by results, by respect, by power, and you'll realize that chasing was never worth it. That's the power of self-investment. That's the only game worth playing. You are trapped in the illusion of approval, and it's killing your potential. You think being accepted by someone else means you've won, that they're not. Their attention, their smile somehow proves your worth. But here's the raw truth. If their opinion makes you, it can just as easily break you. If their validation is your lifeline, then you're not living. You're just surviving on borrowed air, and borrowed air always runs out. Approval is a drug, and you've been overdosing one compliment, one bit of attention, one moment where you feel seen, and you think you're on top of the world, but the high never lasts, does it? You're left empty again, chasing the next fix. You're addicted to opinions, addicted to applause, addicted to being told you matter. But the problem with addiction is simple. It controls you. It dictates your actions. It changes your mind. It robs you of freedom. Ask yourself, why do you crave approval so much? Because deep down, you don't believe you're enough without it. And that's the trap. You keep searching outside for what you should be building inside. You're trying to fill the cracks in your self-worth with the temporary glue of someone else's attention. And the cracks never seal, do they? The glue always wears off. And so you chase again and again and again. But here's the harsh truth. The people whose approval you're desperate for, they don't even think about you the way you think about them. They're not losing sleep over you. They're not rearranging their lives around you. They're living while you're begging. And that is the most painful part. You're giving them control of your emotions while they barely notice. One cold look, one unanswered message, one ignored gesture, and your entire mood collapses. Do you see how fragile that makes you? Do you see how pathetic it is to give away your strength so cheaply? Real strength is the opposite. Real strength is when no one's approval can move you, when no one's rejection can break you. Real strength is walking into a room and not caring who notices. Real strength is knowing you are enough whether they clap for you or not. That is the kind of power you must build, because if you don't, you will forever be a slave to the opinions of others. Think about it. Approval seekers are predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Say the right words, give them a little attention, and they'll do whatever you want. Is that the life you want? To be a puppet pulled by strings of validation, to be controlled by scraps of attention that don't even mean anything in the long run. Approval is an illusion. It doesn't last. It doesn't satisfy, and it doesn't define you. You could get approval today and lose it tomorrow. You could be loved in one moment and hated in the next. And if your self-worth is tied to that roller coaster, you will never have peace. You'll always be unstable, always insecure, always begging for the next hit of validation. But the man who focuses on himself, who builds his worth from the inside out, is unshakable. He doesn't crumble when ignored. He doesn't beg when overlooked. He doesn't collapse when rejected. Why? Because he understands that approval is not the prize. Growth is, respect is, power is, and those things are not given by others. They are earned by discipline, by effort, by refusing to sell your soul for applause. The world does not remember approval seekers. The world remembers builders. The world remembers those who said, I don't care who claps for me. I'll clap for myself, and I'll work until the world has no choice but to recognize me. That is the mindset of freedom. That is the mindset of power. You must decide, do you want to live as a slave to the illusion of approval, or do you want to rise as a man who doesn't need it? Do you want to keep chasing smiles that fade, or do you want to build results that last? Do you want to keep begging for attention, or do you want to command respect without ever asking for it? Approval is a game you cannot win. Even if you earn it today, it will vanish tomorrow. But when you stop playing the game, when you pull back your energy and focus it on yourself, you win forever, because then no rejection can touch you, no ignorance can wound you, no disapproval can shatter you. You become untouchable, unstoppable, unshakable. And here's the greatest irony: when you stop chasing approval, that's when it comes to you. When you stop begging for attention, that's when people notice you. When you stop trying to impress, that's when you become impressive, because nothing is more attractive than a man who needs nothing, a man who stands tall regardless of who is watching. That is why chasing approval is an illusion. It's a prison built by your own insecurity. But focusing on yourself, building your value, building your respect, building your empire, that is freedom. And freedom is worth more than any smile, any compliment, any nod of approval you could ever beg for. So stop craving, stop begging, stop living for their applause. Focus on yourself, and one day you'll realize that the only approval you ever needed was your own. You say you want respect. You say you want loyalty. You say you want admiration, but what have you built that deserves it? Respect doesn't come from chasing. Loyalty doesn't come from begging. Admiration doesn't come from desperation. They come from one thing, and one thing only: building. Building yourself, building your craft, building your empire, until you have something so undeniable that people can't ignore it, even if they wanted to. Look at the reality around you. When you chase, you look like a beggar, and no one respects a beggar. People might pity him, they might laugh at him, but they never look up to him. When you waste your life chasing validation, you are handing over your crown and trading it for crumbs. Kings don't beg, kings don't chase, kings create, kings build. Kings sit on a throne they carved with their own hands, and because of that, people are drawn to them, not the other way around. So here's the brutal truth. If you want to be taken seriously, if you want to stand as someone who commands attention instead of pleading for it, you must build your empire first. And don't fool yourself. Your empire doesn't need to be made of castles and gold. Your empire is your mission. Your empire is your career, your fitness, your discipline, your mind, your wealth, your reputation. It is the foundation that proves you are not a man to be overlooked. It is the wall that shields you from disrespect. It is the throne that lifts you above the noise of mediocrity. Every time you prioritize chasing over building, you are choosing weakness over strength. You are choosing distraction over purpose. You are choosing to delay the life you were meant to live, so you can chase temporary highs that mean nothing in the long run. And the more you chase, the more your empire crumbles. The more you beg, the more your foundation cracks. Until one day you wake up and there is nothing left to stand on. No success, no respect, no legacy. Think about history. Who is remembered? The men who built. The men who sacrificed the distractions and invested in their mission. The men who refused to waste time chasing things that faded because they were too busy building something that lasted. They understood what you refused to understand, that loyalty, respect, admiration. These are byproducts of greatness, and greatness is built, not begged for. Building your empire is not easy. It demands discipline. It demands focus. It demands that you put down the phone, close the distractions, and grind when nobody is watching. It means missing out on fleeting pleasures so you can lock in on permanent results. It means sacrificing the cheap attention today so you can create the undeniable power tomorrow. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And here's the irony: when you build, when you invest in your empire, the very things you were chasing start to chase you. The respect you begged for begins to flow naturally. The attention you crave begins to appear without effort. The loyalty you dreamed of begins to surround you, not because you asked for it, but because you became someone who earned it. That's the difference. Chasers beg, builders attract. Ask yourself right now, what are you building? Are you stacking skills, knowledge, strength, and wealth? Or are you stacking wasted hours, missed opportunities, and regrets? Be honest. If you keep chasing, your empire will never exist. If you keep begging, your throne will always belong to someone else. You'll never be respected. You'll never be admired. You'll never be remembered, because the world does not care about men who chase. It only cares about men who build. When you focus on building, your entire energy changes. You stop looking desperate. You stop looking weak. You stop handing your power away. You stand taller. You speak with certainty. You walk with purpose. You radiate the kind of confidence that no one can ignore, because you're no longer just another face in the crowd. You're a man on a mission, a man who is creating something bigger than himself. That's the kind of presence that commands respect. That's the kind of presence that changes everything. So here's the choice laid bare in front of you: chase and be forgotten, or build and be remembered. Crawl after attention and lose yourself, or create your empire and watch respect follow you. Waste your life on begging, or use your life to build something so unshakable that people have no choice but to admire you. The truth is simple: your empire must come first, before distractions, before chasing, before begging, before anything else. Because if you don't build it now, you'll regret it later. And by the time regret hits, it will be too late. This world rewards builders and punishes beggars. Which side are you on? Listen carefully, because this is the part where your excuses die. If you don't hear me now, if you don't let these words sink into your skull, your life will collapse into a cycle of chasing and losing, chasing and being humiliated, chasing and waking up every morning with regret burning in your chest. This isn't drama, it's reality. You are either going to wake up and take control, or you are going to keep running in circles until you run yourself straight into the ground. Every man who keeps chasing ends the same way: empty, bitter, broken. Look around, you'll see it everywhere. Grown men with nothing to their name because they spent their best years crawling behind people who never even respected them. Their dreams died while they begged for attention. Their ambitions rotted while they chased temporary highs. Their legacy burned to ashes while they wasted time on games that gave them nothing in return. That's the grave you're digging if you don't stop. That's the fate that's waiting for you if you don't wake up. Do you want that to be you? Do you want to look back on your life and see nothing but wasted time? Do you want to be remembered as the man who gave everything chasing someone else and ended up with nothing for himself? That's the final warning. If you don't change now, you will be forgotten, not hated, not loved, forgotten. And that's worse than death, because it means you lived without purpose. But if you stop now, if you make the decision to shift your energy, everything changes. You take the same fire you've been wasting and you turn it inward. You sharpen it, you weaponize it, you use it to fuel your growth, your discipline, your empire, and suddenly you're not chasing anymore, you're climbing. You're not begging, you're building. You're not losing, you're winning. This is not a suggestion. This is not a motivational poster with pretty words. This is a command. Focus on yourself. Stop chasing. Stop crawling. Stop trading your dignity for crumbs of attention. Pour every ounce of energy into yourself, your body, your mind, your money, your mission. Because when you do that, you don't just rise, you become unstoppable. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop begging, the moment you stop living for validation, that's when everything you wanted begins to find you. Respect comes to you. Attention comes to you. Opportunities come to you, but they come because you no longer need them. They come because you built yourself into someone undeniable, and people cannot ignore the undeniable. You want to know the difference between men who win and men who waste their lives. It's not luck, it's not charm, it's not some secret talent, it's focus. Winners build themselves first, losers chase first, and that one decision determines everything. So here's the line in the sand. Either you keep chasing and you die as another faceless man who never lived up to his potential, or you stop chasing and rise as someone who built a life worth remembering. The choice is yours, but don't lie to yourself. This is the final warning. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot build an empire while begging for attention. You cannot create greatness while wasting your time chasing shadows. The clock is ticking. Every second you hesitate, your empire burns. Every minute you waste, your opportunity slips further away. Every day you chase, you dig your grave deeper. This is the last call. Focus on yourself, or be buried by the weight of your own desperation. Because if you ignore this, if you keep crawling after people who don't care, your future will be nothing but regret. But if you lock in now, if you shift every ounce of energy toward your mission, your empire, your growth, then one day you'll look back and say, that was the moment I took control. That was the day I stopped chasing and started building. That was the day I became unstoppable. So make the choice. Rise or be forgotten, build or beg, late or crawl. Focus on yourself. Stop chasing women. Stop chasing approval. Stop chasing anything that distracts you from your mission, because the world will only remember the man who built his empire, not the man who wasted his life chasing. Then hear me, and hear me well, because this is the last word you'll get from me on this. If you walk away from everything I've said and still keep chasing, still keep begging, still keep throwing your life away for attention that doesn't matter, then you deserve every ounce of failure that crushes you. You deserve the disrespect, the rejection, the regret, because you chose weakness over strength, desperation over discipline, crawling over conquering. But if you decide right here, right now, to flip the script, to burn the excuses, to cut the chains, and to lock in on yourself with relentless focus, then you become dangerous. Then you become powerful. Then you become the kind of man no one can ignore. This world does not reward the desperate. It devours them. This world rewards the builders, the focused, the ruthless. So either stand up and claim your place among them, or stay on your knees and die chasing. The choice is in your hands, and I'll make it very clear. Focus on yourself. Stop chasing women and build your damn empire, or get buried under the weight of your own wasted potential.